Read, can you, is there any problem in understanding? Is there any problem in understanding in the previous class?
No, sir.
No. So today the topic is memory and learning. Actually, we used to get information from the environment by seeing, by listening, by smelling, by tasting, and by touch, pain, pressure, etc. And those informations are stored in our brain, and that is called memory. The informations that stored in our brain is called memory. And after that, after getting that information, we change our habit, we change our behavior, and that is learning. A small boy is very much attracted with a very bright thing. Say, for example, a burning candle. But when he touches it, he gets, oh, it burns. So that information goes, it is hot. That information goes to his brain, and whenever afterwards, whenever he see the burning flame, he avoids. That is his learning. Am I clear? Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, how can we get that the person's brain is active and it is storing the information? By two studies. One is PET scan, another is fMRI. PET means positron emission tomography. It is used to measure the local glucose metabolism, which is proportional to neural activity. That means a particular portion of the brain metabolize more glucose. That means that portion is active. So, in the course of memory, some portions are using more glucose denotes that portion is related to memory. पेटमा के छ? पेटमा खाना, glucose. So, PET scan is concerned with the utilization of glucose. This is the mnemonic, so that you can very easily remember what is PET and what is fMRI. And functional magnetic resonance imaging. F for functional, MRI. Magnetic resonance imaging is used to measure the local amount of oxygenated blood. Now, our memory, our learning is, we are human beings, ours are not comparable with any other animal, because the highest animal, what we used to use in the laboratory, they are rhesus monkey. The best one. The brain of rhesus monkey is 1/4 of the size of the brain of chimpanzee. Brain of chimpanzee is 1/4 of the human brain. That means 1/16 brain size is there in the rhesus monkey. So maximum animal study has been done in rhesus monkey. So that brain and human brain is not at all comparable. Still, we use it for brain research. And primary traumatic brain injury is caused by mechanical force, and secondary injury is due to impaired cellular blood flow, which damages memory. Up to this, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Is it clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
How many students are there?
99.
Okay. Now, as I told what memory is, it is the retention and storage of information. Retention and storage. An experience causes alteration in behavior, that is learning. Say, for example, one small boy and a small girl, he or she does not know that he or she has to put on the clothes. But when he or she, the small kid, experiences that after being dressed, he or she will get the chance of going roaming hither and there, outside. So he or she does not tell, okay, I will not put on cold clothes. So that memory, that putting on clothes and then I am going for a outside, enjoying outside. That memory changes its behavior. Okay, I have to put on clothes. That is his learning. Now, memory may be, which is retention and storage of information, maybe short term memory, maybe working memory, maybe long term memory. How many? Three types: short term, working, long term. Short term memory is processed in the hippocampus and makes long time changes in the synaptic strength, protein synthesis, gene activation, etc. And if this process is prevented, then short term memory, STM means short term memory, is not changed into long term memory. That means, suppose learned something, short term memory. Now there was if you give shock to the hippocampus, then the person will forget what the animal will forget what it has learned, and it will not enter into the long term memory. And working memory and long term memory is stored in the prefrontal cortex or frontal cortex. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
So here is the hippocampus, and here is the parahippocampus, entorhinal cortex. Here, when we first stored information here, if the information is stored here, then short-term memory will be converted into long-term memory. Am I clear? Suppose somebody thing, and after that there is you give what is lost. So So it will not come and store in the long-term memory. So short-term memory is processed in the hippocampus, long-term memory stored in the prefrontal cortex if the short-term memory is happens in the hippocampus. Hippocampus means paw, this portion. Now, in between the short-term and long-term memory, there is working memory. That means if you want to phone somebody which is very important for a very important cause, although you cannot remember, you just see the phone number and can remember the phone number and you can dial. Again, you can dial. But when your purpose is over, then you forget it. You forget the phone number. So that is the working memory. It is neither short nor long term. You know your parents' phone number. First, when you learnt it, it was here. Then it is stored here, prefrontal cortex, for long term memory. Right? But suppose you want to call a plumber, you know the plumber's phone number, it is stored here. After that, you phone the plumber again and again, that is working memory. Plumber came, your problem is over, then can you remember the number of the plumber? Can you remember the number of the plumber? Yes, no.
No.
Am I clear? Can you get? I am asking question. You called a plumber and you remember the phone number of the plumber. Now your plumber came and your tap is all right now. After that, can you remember the phone number of the plumber?
Maybe no.
Yes or no? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Are you getting my question?
Yes, sir. But no, maybe no.
Hmm?
Maybe no. We cannot.
Maybe no. You are getting my question. But your answer is you cannot remember the phone number of the plumber, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
That means the memory for the plumber's phone number was working memory. Am I clear what is working memory, what is long term memory, what is short term memory? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now the memory can be divided into implicit memory or explicit memory. Explicit means you can explain it is you can memorize and explain it. That is explicit memory. And implicit memory means you can memorize but cannot explain. So implicit memory is also called reflexive memory, and this implicit memory is not processed in the hippocampus. But explicit memory, it is processed in hippocampus, then it is stored again from hippocampus to prefrontal cortex. Suppose you you do not know chemistry well, but you have to pass biochemistry. So chemistry you have to remember. So you marked up some cycle. You marked up this after this, and after that you wrote, and you passed, and you forgot. Okay, without you can remember, but without following it properly, without perceiving it properly, but you can remember. That is reflexive or implicit memory. Implicit memory has four properties. One is priming. Priming is done in the pre-neocortex, easier to recall after priming. Like that, for example, you mix 20 microliter of blood into N by 10 HCl, and the brown color fluid is formed, and that is called acid hematine. Acid hematine. You have never heard that term, acid hematine. And in the examination hall, you forgot hematine. So sometimes some person is my teacher is telling, can you remember something teen something teen hematine like that. That is brain priming. When the person is telling teen, it is priming in the neocortex, something teen, oh, hematine. Or somebody told, okay, Sole cinema, very old cinema, very old movie, Hema Malini, hematine. He wants to listen from your mouth, from your tongue, hematine, so that you can give marks. So, oh, hematine. So that is called priming. Because how hematine is formed, what is the chemical nature of it, how the benzene ring is there or not, something, you do not know. Only you remembered hematine. So it is implicit memory. Another is procedural skill, processed in the stratum. Procedural skill is what is in the stratum. I think you have learned basal ganglia. So stratum, you know, striated part. That memory is procedural skill memory is a implicit or reflexive memory. Suppose you are trying to learn how to ride a scooter. So okay, first you hold the clutch, then give the switch, then you increase the speed, and then loosen the clutch like that. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that you are doing without knowing anything, but you are practicing again. So you learned and the memorize what to do after what, right? And that is also implicit or reflexive memory. That is procedural skill. And it can be stored by non-associative, by habituation and by associative learning. In non-associative learning, by habituation or by other classes, what we learn by practice. Habituation means by practice. It is also implicit memory. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All of you?
Yes, sir.
म अलिकति व्यस्त छु एकछिन पछि फोन गर्छु Now, in habituation, what happens? That is non-associative. Only one thing you are doing. If you do two things at a time, then associative. I am coming. Habituation means repeated benign stimulus, gradual inactivation of the calcium channel, intracellular calcium is less, neurotransmitter is less, sensitization and reflexly. So I'm coming. And associative learning, amygdala and cerebellum is required. I'm coming to that. Suppose it is a snail. Snail, you know, Sankekira. Sankekira in Nepali. In Bangla, it is Samuk. In Hindi, I do not know. In English, it is called snail. Snail. So, snail has a siphon. And the siphon, they move the siphon, and if you touch the siphon, then it takes out, it takes it inside that cell, in their cell, SHEW cell. So when you touch it first time, then there is neurotransmitter release more, then again more neurotransmitter, then again more neurotransmitter, and gill, that means gill is contracted. That means the snail takes its body part inside its cell first time. You just touched. After that, you are touching it again, the snail starts walking, again you touched it. And the snail gets, oh, the person is playing with me, मलाई जिस्काइरहेछ, but this stimulus is not harmful to me. Then what will happen after 3-4 times if you touch, then in the 5th time when you touch, the neurotransmitter you see are less. Here the dots are neurotransmitters. Now here neurotransmitters, so many neurotransmitters were there. So they are less. Again neurotransmitter less. So it is habituated. Okay. Somebody is touching my siphon, but I have not to take off my siphon inside my body. Only one stimulus is there. One type of stimulus is there. And the response is less. Here one stimulus, response is more. Here the same stimulus again and again, but not that experience. That means the memory is telling, okay, experience is not harmful, so ignore it. So it learned to ignore. It learned to ignore the stimulus. This is non-associative learning because only one type of stimulus is there. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now about associative learning. Associative learning means two stimulus simultaneously is there. Food is there, salivation is there. Unconditioned stimulus, unconditioned reflex. Food is there, salivation is there. Ringing the bell, no salivation. See, one stimulus, this is another stimulus. At a time, two stimulus. Bell is ringing and you are giving food. Bell is ringing, you are giving food. So, bell plus food, it is the unconditioned stimulus. And salivation, unconditioned reflex. But when again and again the dog gets that when there will be ringing of bill, I will get food. Then there will be associative learning. Bell, after only bell, ringing of bell, the salivation will start. That means the bell becomes the conditioned stimulus and salivation is the conditioned reflex, although food is not there. So how many stimulus are there? 1, 2. So it is associative learning. Because learning means what? Learning means the information which is stored in the body, in the brain. Learning, information stored in the brain. This is two stimulus, learning, bell ringing and food, association. So when there is only ringing of bell, as the associated learning is there, the salivation occurs in the dog. Am I clear? This is called conditioned or associative learning. It is also implicit learning. You cannot explain it. Up to this clear?
Yes, sir.
To all? Is there any problem to anybody else? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
So is it clear to you all?
It is clear, sir.
So we learnt about the implicit or reflexive memory. One property is priming, easier to recall after priming. Another is procedural skill is achieved by the implicit memory. Number 3 is non-associative learning can be done through implicit memory, and associative learning can be done by the implicit memory. Is it clear to you all? May I proceed?
Yes, sir.
Now, when we learn something, the long-term potentiation, through the long-term potentiation we learn. As in the previous class I told that this is synapse, presynaptic end, postsynaptic end. From the presynaptic end, the glutamate comes and it attaches to the AMPA receptor. Through AMPA receptor, when glutamate is attached, then it is phosphorylated, the sodium enters, and the postsynaptic area, postsynaptic neuron became depolarized, and somehow new AMPA receptor are formed and attached. Number 1. Number 2, the glutamate when attaches to the NMDA receptor, the magnesium blocks opens, calcium and sodium enters. Calcium is more here inside, so that excess calcium calmodulin complex increases the activity of the kinase enzyme. So kinase enzyme produces more NO, and NO is a gas which comes retrogradely to the presynaptic membrane, and the presynaptic membrane again release glutamate. So only one stimulus, again and again the circuit goes on. Again and again the circuit goes on. So in NMDA receptor, when glutamate attaches, the magnesium lock is opened. And in the AMPA receptor, there is no magnesium lock. That is the only thing. But once this portion is postsynaptic neuron is activated, the NO is produced. NO means nitric oxide. The nitric oxide stimulates the glutamate release from the presynaptic neuron. So this goes on. So somebody rebuked you, गाली गर्यो एकचोटि मात्रै होल डे गुरुर किटकिट भइरहेछ. somebody तिमीलाई प्रेज गर्यो जसलाई तिमी मन पराउँछ भन्नु सक्दैन, खुसी 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 है. बाथटबमा एकचोटि मात्र देख्यो बस निद्रामा पनि त्यो आइरहेछ. ओहो यस्तो है त्यो मान्छे आहा किन हुन्छ? बिकज अफ long term potentiation. And in that way you can remember, right? You can remember. So when we try to mug up something, if it is interesting to you, the same circuit goes on in the hippocampus. This is the part of hippocampus, Happer's end in the hippocampus. The same thing goes on, and the short-term and long-term memory is formed. Am I clear now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, no? Should I repeat?
ठीक से, sir.
Should it?
हुन्छ, sir.
I am asking all the MBBS and BDS students. Should I proceed?
Yes, you can, sir.
As I already told, that is explicit memory and implicit memory, two forms of memory. Implicit memory have four properties. One is priming, which is done in the neocortex. Priming means a whole word cannot be remembered. Part of the word, if you listen, then whole word you can remember. That is priming. Procedural skill and habits, without knowing, by practicing, you can learn. It is done in the stratum. Associative learning, emotional express, and the skeletal muscle training that occurs in that requires amygdala and cerebellum. And non-associative learning by habituation and sensitization reflex pathways. So habituation, I have already told that if the stimulus is harmless, again and again the stimulus is applied, lesser and lesser neurotransmitter is released, and the response is lesser and lesser, as we showed in the snail. But if the stimulus is harmful, then it is sensitized. It is sensitized. That means the reaction will be more. Am I clear? I'll come later. In explicit memory, that means when the explain, you can remember but explain this. That is declarative, you can declare. Maybe fact, maybe event. And for that medial temporal lobe is associated. Medial temporal lobe is associated. Explicit memory is stored in the medial temporal lobe first, and then go to the prefrontal cortex, and after it comes to the base part of the menard. I'll come later. Suppose I am talking about two things. One is habituation, another is sensitization. So stimulus here non-harmful, more neurotransmitter release, more neurotransmitter release, more effect. Barombar, time and again, if you do this, then neurotransmitter release less, neurotransmitter release less, and the action is also less. This is habituation. But if it is a very harmful stimulus, then what will happen? After that harmful stimulus, second time if you give the same harmful stimulus, more neurotransmitter will be there and the person will not respond, the person will react. Am I clear? Suppose somebody insulted you, one day you became very much angry, in the second day or third day that same person wants to talk with you, a simple word he or she has told, you became flew into rage. The same word caused more neurotransmitter release, and you become very much irritated, extremely irritated by simple word, which was not so irritating apparently. Am I clear? And that is called sensitization. Is it clear or not?
Clear, sir.
Sorry?
Clear, sir.
Okay. Neurogenesis. New cells are added to throughout life into two areas, olfactory bulb and the hippocampus. The process called neurogenesis. Hippocampus looks like the horn of a ram, ram. भेडाको सिङ जस्तो हुन्छ हिपोक्याम्पस. हिपोक्याम्पस कहाँ हुन्छ? टेम्पोरल लोबमा घुसिहाल्छ. Now it entered in the temporal lobe. Anyway, you know anatomy. In anatomy book, you will get the three-dimensional figure also. Now, experience-dependent growth of new granule cells in the dentate gyrus of the hippocampus contributes in learning and memory. So, hippocampus is the seat of short-term memory. About this we have already talked about. Then comes the explicit or declarative memory. What I have already told, and still I'll tell again. Explicit awareness or declarative memory. You can explain what you know. You are aware of what you are talking about. You can remember, but you are aware of. You can explain it. And you can declare. After declare means you can declare means you know it. You didn't mug it up. You know it. You can explain it. That is the declarative memory. The information go to the prefrontal cortex. Yes, yeah, prefrontal cortex. It is not in the hippocampus. It is not in the stratum, neocortex, amygdala, cerebellum, etc. It is in the hippocampus and in the prefrontal cortex or frontal cortex or in the parahippocampus. That means the hippocampus and medial frontal lobe. Working memory is there in the parahippocampus. Then from there it will go to the hippocampus. From there it will go the information. The impulse will go to mammillary body to anterior hypothalamus. The impulse will go. Then it will be turned into recent memory. Then from prefrontal cortex to basal forebrain. From basal forebrain to nucleus basalis of Maynard. That means the base of the brain. It will enter, then it will go to neocortex, and then it will be long-term memory. In amygdala also it will enter, and it will be stored as emotional memory. Somebody gave you the best thing, you actually love that person and you love to get something from that person, and that has been given to you by that same person. It will enter into your imagdala, and the whole life you can remember, oh, this was given by this particular person. That is emotional memory and in the hippocampus. Am I clear? Where they encode, where the explicit memory has been encoded. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
I repeat, here in the hippocampus, short-term memory. Here in the parahippocampus, working memory. Here in the prefrontal cortex, long-term memory. Here in the whole frontal cortex and the basal part, here, basal part, whole life long-term memory. Destruction of the ventral hippocampus, CA1 neuron, causes loss of short-term memory. Ventral hippocampus. That means if the hippocampus is lost, then short-term memory loss, and then it will not be confirmed, converted into long-term memory, but the Purano, old long-term memory will remain. Temporal lobe stimulation causes deja vu phenomena. Deja vu phenomena means what you have never seen in life, you will feel that you have seen in that previously. Previously you have seen that you will feel. If that happens, that the cause of this is temporal lobe stimulation. The blood flow in the temporal lobe sometimes increases, and we can see whatever we have never seen. First time we have seen, but it seems that I have seen it. That is called déjà vu phenomena. It is a French word. Déjà vu means I have seen it before. I have seen it before. Right? The molecular basis of memory is increased strength of selective synaptic connections. That means the synaptic knobs, synaptic spines will be more, because synaptic spines are nothing but proteins. So protein synthesis will be more. The more synaptic spines will be there, gene activation will be there, and ultimately there is some neurogenesis in the hippocampus, and that increases the memory. And in the previous class we have already talked about the rapid circuit. If the information, that is the what do you call, impulse starts from hippocampus, from there to fornix, from fornix to mammillary body, from mammillary body to anterior nucleus of the thalamus, from thalamus to cingulate gyrus, and from cingulate gyrus to hippocampus. That is called the rapid circuit. In that way also, if there is the circuit, the flows, that means the action potential flows, we can remember quickly, right? And that way, in the hippocampus, the short-term memory, in the parahippocampus, the working memory, and in the prefrontal cortex, the long-term memory is stored. Am I clear to you all?
Yes, sir.
Now, dementia. What is dementia? when we forget. Senile dementia is called Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease is generally seen in the Americans. In the Asians, it is very, very less because American lifestyle is a very difficult lifestyle. Sometimes they are very much goal oriented and body oriented, not mind oriented. Body, okay, okay, I like you, I love you, then I married you, then I divorced you, then I again married somebody, again married, again divorced, again this type of lifestyle leads to Alzheimer's disease more. The science, the research has shown that on that. So in the Asians, Alzheimer's disease is not so common. Defect in the monoaminergic system, basal forebrain cholinergic system, hippocampus, limbic system and neocortex is there, and neurofibrillary tangles, beta amyloid polypeptide deposition, neurites, senile plaques. Those are the things to we see in histology. Neuron death will be there, mental activity slows, cognitive dementia will be there. This is the Alzheimer's disease. What happens? You see, the neurons, the problem in the neuron, which are the vulnerable neuron? Monoaminergic system, basal forebrain cholinergic system, hippocampus, entorhinal cortex means parahippocampus, and neocortex. What problems are there? Histologically, neurofibrillary tangles, neurite, AB peptide deposition, other abnormalities. And that is called senile plaque. Then you see this. This is the normal one. Normal, one neuron, another neuron, other neuronal dendrites. This is normal. In Alzheimer's disease, the neuropil threads are there, and that is called the neurofibrillary tangles. Okay, neurofibrillary tangles. Now this is distorted, and the other parts of the other neurons enters, and it is also double separate, you see, right? And that is called neurites. And in between the neurites, that is A beta fibril. So whole thing looks like a plaque, and that is called senile plaque. And see, for that, as it entered, so from presynaptic neuron goes far away from the postsynaptic neuron. Here presynaptic neuron is here, postsynaptic neuron here. Here you see there is a long gap, and that is the changes. That is the change in the Alzheimer's disease. Am I clear to you all?
Yes, sir.
Now, mental activity slows cognitive dementia. That is why with the advancement of age, somebody plays the chess or sabdo jabdo, that means the cross puzzles, etc. Then the forgetfulness will be lesser in old age. Confabulation means white or honest line, occurs within the ventromedial portion of the frontal lobe. Ventromedial portion of the frontal lobe kate bhane, their memory is poor, but they describe events they have never seen. They feel that they have seen, and that is called honest line. That is also a problem. Many pathophysiology. Senile Alzheimer's disease is a pathophysiology, and confabulation is also a pathophysiology. The person is telling lie without knowing that he is telling lie. When we lie, we know we are lying. Am I clear? But in confabulation, the person does not know that he is lying. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
So, this is about your memory, learning, implicit memory, explicit memory, how it happens, how the long-term potentiation helps in memory formation and retention, what is learning, etc. What is conditioned, what is non-associative learning. So everything we have tried to tell you. If there is any problem, please let me know through your WhatsApp. May I stop here? May I stop here?
Answer, sir.
Yes. Okay. Wait a bit. I'll call so that you get the attendance.
Okay, sir.
Attendance. Hello.